E tū pōtukawa te kaikawe e ngā mate o te tau, ruru e a ngā mate ki tō mōrangi nui. Anā kua wheturangi hia koto. E tū tupua nuku ko te one paraumu, rangi hia mai rā tōrahi, ki te whenua haumako, kia puta ko te ora o rongo, koia. E tū tupua rangi ko te pōkaitara, ngā horopua, mana whatorua, kia puta ko te ora o tāne, koia. E tū waiti ko te wai Māori, tunu heka kia wai nui, kia puta ko te ora o parawhenua mea, koia. E tū waitā ko te waitai, ngaru nui, ngaroroa, kia puta ko te ora tangaroa, koia. E tū waipuna rangi ko te ua eke, ko patapata mai, hū kerikeri mai, kia puta ko te ora tāwhiriua, koia. E tū ururangi ko te whānau pupuhi, tū te wini wini, tū te walamana, kia puta ko te ora tāwhirirangi, koia. E tū hiwai te rangi, ko ngā manako nui, kia puta ai, ko ngā wawata, ki te whai au ki te ao mārama, koia. Mānawa mai ia te putanga o Matariki. Mānawa mai ia te ariki o te rangi. Mānawa mai ia te mātahi o te tau. Whano, whano, hara mai te toki ata hua ki rangi. Hui e, tā ki e. Kia ora koutou. That's right, it's Matariki season. Around this time of year, Māori and many others all across the Pacific observe the stars to determine the beginning of the new year in their local lunar calendars. In this case, the Matariki star cluster is what we'll be focusing on. However, I'd like to note that the Buanga star is also used by many iwi across Aotearoa, and especially by some of those in Te Taitokirau like Ngapuhi. That's right, kara WÍPI at it again, Ngapuhi. Hold on, what's a stupid reference I can make for the video? Fuck, Kai kohe mef. Hakataka taka ki ronga, hakataka taka ki raro. Tēnei ngā pū, tēnei ngā hamanu, tihe ngā iti o ngā puhi e. Oh, hui. Now then, to begin with, what is Matariki? Matariki could go by a couple of names when referring to the whole star cluster. Some examples being te huihui o Matariki, te tātai o Matariki, and te kāhui o Matariki. Matariki is also known as Pleiades, or Pleiades in English, I don't know how the fuck to say it, and it's a star cluster in the night sky, or even early morning sky, consisting of 9 to 7 stars, depending on which iwi's tikanga you follow. That being said, nowadays a majority of people will go with the 9-star version, and if they follow the 7-star version, then they exclude Pohutukawa and Hiwa from the cluster. But for this video, we're looking at all 9. These stars can be used to foretell the fortune of the coming year based off how bright they shine in the sky when observed. Each star is considered an atua or god in their own right, however many of them are also associated with the domains of other atua that may be more prominent in daily life. So how about we take a look at each one of these stars and what they are about. Also, a fun little tidbit I wanted to add while we're at it. If you look behind me in this background, you can actually see a couple of Māori constellations very visible in this night sky. There's Matariki, Puanga, Takurua, Tautoru, and the constellation of Kokota. Let me double check. Yeah. Kokota, and within Kokota, in the bottom right, is the star of Taumatakuku. So yeah, fun little fact. Now then, to get back on track, the first star we're going to look at is Pohutukawa. Pohutukawa is the eldest born of the stars and after the primary mother star of Matariki. Yeah, the main star of the Matariki star cluster is also called Matariki. Pohutukawa holds the responsibility of helping those who have died in the year before make their way to the afterlife, and thus connecting the dead to the living, and often is associated with remembering the deceased. The name Pohutukawa is also very important as it is shared with the name of a tree found natively in Aotearoa. It's known for its red flowers and often blooms around Christmas. And it is, of course, this is why I'm bringing it up now, very important to note that there is a Pohutukawa tree that is roughly at least 800 years old that sits off at the edge of Te Rerenga Wairua cliff at Cape Reinga in Muriwenua, or Muriwhenua. And of course, this is the place where Māori believe that our spirits do travel to before making our ways towards the afterlife, or at the very least, waiting to make our way to the afterlife. This, of course, does further cement it with the idea of remembering the deceased and honouring them. Well then, next up is tupuanuku. The name tupuanuku can be translated to sprouts of the ground. Tupu meaning to sprout, or I guess you could say a sprout or to sprout in a metaphorical sense as well as literal. And then anuku would mean via the ground. So basically, things coming from the ground. You could think of it like that. Tupuanuku resides over the domain of cropped harvesting and thus is associated with rongonui, the atua of cultivated plants. If it shines bright, then the harvest will be plentiful. If not, they may be small. Next to them, there's tupuarangi. Again, tupu, spouting. Arangi means via the sky. So, things coming from the sky. The star is often associated with fruits and birds, and especially the kukupa, also known as keruru or New Zealand wood pigeon. Due to covering the realm of Tāne Mahuta, the atua of forests and birds, tupuarangi is associated with, obviously, Tāne Mahuta. And as such, if the star shines bright, there'll be many fruits and berries to harvest in Te Waunui o Tāne, the forests. And the birds will be especially fat. And, especially the kukupa. They taste very good, I've heard. Especially when they get really fat and full of kohe berries. However, if it is dim, you may not find much. Now then, moving away from elements associated with food from the land, we move to WÍPI. WÍPI is a star associated with freshwater harvesting, such as freshwater koura or freshwater crayfish, and obviously freshwater fish and anything else you can harvest from the rivers. And as such is associated with the atua Parawhenua mea, an atua of freshwaters, rivers, and lakes. And then along with them, we have Waita, the star associated with saltwater harvests, such as saltwater fish, koutou, other mollusks, crustaceans, and other creatures of the sea, such as kelp, etc. And as such, they are associated with Tangaroa, the atua of the sea. If these stars shine bright, there'll be plenty to catch, otherwise the fish may not bite much. Now then, to move from direct forms of food harvesting, we are now looking at the stars associated with the weather. There is Waipunarangi. Waipunarangi can mean water pooling of the sky. The stars associated with rainfall and be associated with Te Ihorangi and Tawhiri Mātea. If the star was to shine bright, there should be plenty of rain. If it is dim, there may be droughts. Then with them, we have Ururangi. Ururangi's name can be translated to wind of the sky. They are associated with the winds, and this aspect will be very important for sea travelling or for foretelling good weather. Ururangi is associated with Tawhirirangi, another name for Tawhiri Mātea, the atua of weather and winds. If the stars are to shine bright, there will be favourable weather conditions the next year. If they are dim, there may be natural weather disasters or bad conditions. Now then, moving to the last two more miscellaneous ones, we have Hiwa Iterangi, which can be translated to Hiwa in the sky. She's the youngest of Matariki's children in the cluster, and she's associated with granting wishes and prosperity in the new year. Often during Matariki, many Māori would make their wishes to Hiwa in the new year. Given that the star is bright, they might just come true. And finally, Matariki, the main star and mother of the star cluster. She may foretell your health and well-being for the year to come. If the star shines bright, expect to be in good health. If it is dim, you may need to be careful. Now then, how did Matariki get its name? For this, we must look back to the creation pūrākau of the Ao Marama.
You should totally go check out my old video I made about the separation of Ranginui and Papatuanuku for that one. I posted it last year.
But anyways, for a little refresher, after the separation of Rangi and Papa by the other gods, Tawhiri Mātea, one of the gods most opposed to such a separation, was so overcome with rage that he gouged his eyes out and threw them to his father Ranginui's chest, or the sky, resulting in the star cluster forming in the sky known as Ngā mata o te ariki Tawhiri Mātea, the eyes of the noble Tawhiri Mātea, later shortened to Matariki. To finish this video off, let's look at when Matariki is celebrated. Māori call the lunar calendar Te Maramataka. It often contains roughly 30 to 31 nights and 12 to 13 months depending on if one is needed to reset the calendar. I have heard that it happens roughly every 3 to 4 years. A 13th month will be added depending on the local iwi's or hapu's decisions. As part of their journey through the sky, the Matariki star classes go to visit the Tupuna Wahine Papatua Nuku, the Earth Mother, and as such fall below the skyline that is visible at night. As well as this at this time, they go to collect their dead to take them back to Rarohenga in the afterlife. This happens around May in the Gregorian calendar. Gregorian, damn, I sounded American. Gregorian? I don't know how to fuck to say that word. Gregorian calendar, or Haratua in the Maramataka. Then during July, or Piripi in the Maramataka, they rise again in the night sky. However, it should be very important to note, Matariki is only observed during the Tangaroa phase of the Maramataka, as this is the most productive and safe stage of the Maramataka. And the Tangaroa phase, I believe in English, would be the quarter waning or waxing. Basically, when there's about half of the light left. When it's after a new moon, but before it's fully gone away. So you have half of the moonlight left before it goes black. Because when it does go fully dark, that's like a really bad time to do anything. But yes, as such, the Matariki season roughly covers a 5-day long time period or more, obviously depending on how the moon moves, in which traditionally many feasts or hakari and athletic events offering to the gods and commemorations of the dead were held. Well then, I hope you all enjoyed that, and to close this off, here is a little mihi. Manawatia Matariki, e ngā mihi o te tauhou. Enjoy Matariki, and make sure to like and sub, motherfuckers. I might just post again. Also, catch my streams on Twitch. Chee-hoo!